Okay, we're all here. We'd like to welcome you and call to order the study meeting of the West Valley City Council. It is October 3rd, 4:30 p.m. and we're in the multi-purpose room of West Valley City Hall. All members are present except Councilman Hume, and he should be here momentarily. We have Councilman Fitzsimmons, Councilman Whetstone, Councilman Harmon, Councilman Norfelt, Councilman Purchison, and myself at the table. And then we're joined by our Steve Patrick, our Community Development Director, and Nicole Amick, our City Recorder. I'll turn the minutes from September 23rd, 26th, up 23 to the council for discussion or a motion.
Move for approval of those minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Seeing none, those pass unanimously. We now have our agenda for this evening. Did we have any changes?
No,
Mr.
ma'am.
Pastrick.
No, ma'am. Just one comment. So you may recall there was a letter the council received from the applicant on GPZ 8. And I just wanted to make a comment on a statement that was made in that letter. In that letter, there was a comment to the effect that if the city designates private property as a park, that's condemning the property. That's not actually the case. The general plan is advisory in Utah. So what really governs is what it's zoned, right? So under this property, and again, the parks designation is advisory. So just wanted to make that clarification.
Okay, thank you. Nothing's in stone until it's built, right?
Right.
Currently zoned agriculture. The general plan is parks.
Parks and open space. We have other parcels in the city that are general plan designated as parks and open space that are owned privately.
We do have other areas. You may recall in our general plan, we have kind of circles, if you will, that designate areas of where there's a need for a park. And oftentimes those areas we don't have property, but are sort of signifying we're needing property in the area.
Because the general plan is just a general plan of what we foresee we'll need in those areas, correct?
Right.
Last week, I think the letter also stated they offered to buy the property from the city, but is there a restriction on it? Deed restriction?
Right. So we actually, the property was given to the city and it was given with the understanding that it was a wetland property that would stay that way. And so because we took it in that way and didn't pay anything for it, we couldn't turn around and then try to develop it at that point.
And a lot of that property, that's the stormwater, was TDR, transfer development rights. So we gave people like on 56th higher density and they
For open space.
for open space there. So that's another designation that kind of protects it from being sold.
So we just hold it.
Correct.
Any other questions? We'll now go to our second review of application GPZ 7/2023. And we'll turn the time to Mr. Pastrick.
Thank you, Mayor. So, and we discussed this item last week. Based on the conversation last week, there weren't any changes suggested by the council, so no new changes. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but again, no new information on this one.
Okay. Any questions from the council on this?
Is there anything in there that members of our council would want to be changed in order to approve it, or?
I'm not really big on townhomes, so.
Right.
Individual homes with not as high density would be my preference.
It's the density before.
So it's, got the slide on that. And it was, just looking it up here. So the prior proposal was 6.1 units per acre, and then the latest is 4.8.
Mine says 5.8. 4.3, is that an older one?
That's the acreage.
Oh, this is the acreage, not the, okay, here's the density. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it is a lot lower density, but it's still townhomes. And they're bigger than the others were,
And the
if they
rea-
do ramblers.
Sorry.
Sorry.
One of the reasonings that they can do this, other than say residential estate, is because they face 35th.
That's right.
That's the kind of trigger.
That's correct.
Mhm. So my other only question is the units that'll be closest to 35th, how far back off 35th will they be?
So I don't have an exact measurement. The one thing we tried to illustrate on the graphic we did, so just after the image that the applicant provided, we provided an image where we showed sort of the dedication that would be required
Yes.
along the street.
Okay,
And just, it looks like just approximately somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 feet. But again, this is conceptual, so that could change if they made some adjustments, but approximately that would be the number after the dedication.
yeah, I live 200 now. About 175 feet off 35th, and it's still like living on a raceway. Just a heads up if anybody's thinking about buying that unit.
They will be required just to put in a masonry wall also along 35th.
At 35th.
That's in the development agreement.
And will there be accompanying landscaping like we have over on 31 with Centennial?
So what's
Or
in
that-
the agreement is we mentioned that between the sidewalk and the wall, there'd be at least 5 feet of landscaping. So just so you don't have, curb and gutter, sidewalk, wall, that there'd be some softening of that with some landscaping between the sidewalk and the wall.
Okay. Do you remember what it is on 31?
Which project again?
The one down by Centennial Park? I don't know what it's called.
Stone- Yeah.
Stonegate.
So
Stone
that,
Gate?
that one is wider. I don't remember exactly, but it's wider. than
Yeah,
Stone
it
Gate.
seems like 15 or 20 feet. Okay. And the sidewalk will be a 6 foot or a 8 foot, 4 foot,
It would just
Not on
be
35th.
our standard 5 foot.
5 foot.
Right.
Okay.
Besides that email from Larry Gonzalez, had anyone else heard from any neighbors, either for or in opposition? Just wondering.
I haven't heard, but I mean, I live in that neighborhood and I haven't heard much talk about it this time.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the residents on Kiowa are still against having a through street.
Right.
Yeah. But others that live in the neighborhood think it should be open.
So the people that actually live on the street don't want it open, but the rest of the neighborhood would appreciate it. Yeah.
At this point, that street, I drove it today and the street is a double-ended dead end. Iowa.
Mm.
So there's, if you're going there, you're gonna park somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, because that neighborhood at the north end has like 4 exits. If you go out by the church, and then there's 2 on 48th and 1 on the 45th, and that's about it. So,
I go out to 52.
can't remember Avant, was that street? Okay,
It's that street.
so. Okay, no other questions? Awesome. Okay. We will now turn the time to Mr. Flores for our city manager hiring process report.
All right, hello, Mayor and Council. Got a little bit more of an update for you today. So really, I wanted to run you through kind of what the timeline looks like now, now that we're moving forward and getting things scheduled. Still approximate, depending on how different things play out. But we've got a little bit better idea of what we're looking at, as well as make you aware of some points where you'll need to make some decisions so you can kind of be thinking about those things. And then just a reminder, I think there's maybe a few of you that don't have a date or a time scheduled yet for October 18th and 19th. So if you haven't done that yet, please get back with Angel and get that scheduled. So I know there were a couple of questions on those meetings. So I was able to get some additional information. You will have those hour-long meetings, and part of that meeting is so the president of Affion is the one you'll be meeting with. His name's Scott Riley, and he'll have a number of questions for you, and he'll give you some time to get an idea of what it is you want out of our new city manager, as well as run you through kind of the remainder of the process and different things that they recommend and things for you to expect. And then give you some time as well to ask questions, clarify things, and get a better understanding of what's coming ahead. After those meetings, he will put together an ideal candidate and a job posting, send that back to us, which you will need to approve in order for him to go and post that and start recruiting. He expects us to receive that within 10 days. And so sometime end of October, beginning of November, we should have that approved and posted. They like to post for 30 days. So that would push us to the beginning of December, where that would close and they'd have their candidates. And then they go through an approximate 45-day screening process. It's pretty extensive. They do 3 different interviews. He does the final interview. They make them present something in writing to them to really show that they're fully interested in the position. And then he will bring us a group of top candidates. They recommend 8 candidates. We can be flexible on that if we told them we want something different. Again, he'll discuss that with you when he meets with you in person. From there, we will have our own interview process here. And he has a full recommended process for that. It's kind of a 1.5-day process that he will explain in detail with you when you guys meet. You guys can ask questions, but really that's up to us, what we want and what we decide to do there. So we can take what they recommend. We can adjust some things if we want. I guess if we wanted, we could tell them, no, we want something completely different, but they do this often, and he really feels like this is the best way for you as a group to identify the best candidate and the candidate that you want. So that would probably take place end of January is about when that would happen. From there, you as a group would need to select either final candidates or really ideally select your final candidate that you want to give a job offer to. Vote on that, which probably would take place by mid-February, end of February. From there, we go through the job offer negotiations, possible contract negotiations, which can take some time. And so kind of giving you an idea, by the time the candidate we agree, both sides agree, they accept a job, they may need to give their employer notice. They may need to move here if they don't live here. And probably puts us anywhere between possibly beginning of March, if we were quick, to even possibly May, if someone needed some extensive time before we have someone in the seat and actively working. So it's kind of where we're at. Any questions? And like I said, Scott from Affion will go into detail with all of this as well if you have specific questions about different parts of the process.
Okay, any questions from the council?
We need to discuss the interim.
Yep.
Plan for.
As well as nuances with the contract that will be extended to whoever the candidate is.
Correct. So will he walk us through the contract part or?
Yep, so the whole negotiation part, obviously will be what you desire. And he and his group will aid in that process of negotiating and working through a contract. And like I said, they do this all the time, so they kind of know what to expect. They kind of know what the candidates expect nowadays, kind of what the market is driven and what the standard is. And yeah, so he will work through that whole process with you guys and make sure you're getting what you want out of the contract, but also we're able to hire someone as well, so.
So speaking of an interim, how soon would you want to figure that part out?
My personal opinion is I think it would be beneficial to get that figured out really as soon as we can. I think for your sake, so you know what's coming and whoever that individual ends up being, so they can kind of prepare as best as they can to jump in and take over those responsibilities for the time frame. So.
So by October 15th, November 15th,
I think, yeah, I think if you guys could, if you wanted to really meet and discuss it and discuss options throughout this month would probably be a good idea. And if you had made a decision by beginning of November, middle of November, I think that would be great.
okay,
If it were me, I would want some time to prepare and be ready to take things on. So whoever that ends up being, I think if we can provide that to them, that would be great.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing else. All right, our council calendar. Anybody have any concerns? Or questions? Seeing none. Potential future agenda items?
One,
Okay, thank you.
we need a plan for an interim city manager. So I don't know if that's something that we should discuss in a closed meeting.
I believe that would be appropriate.
And so I think sooner is better than later. And even if we have time today after our litigation closed meeting, let's get this ball rolling.
So do you want to make the motion then when it comes that time to do personnel and legal? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay, council reports. So, okay,
Lions Bank held their 150th birthday, I guess it's the best way, or anniversary. Today. Down to it, had a good talk with the leadership there. Thank you for being in the city. They were in deep discussions with our financial department, I saw. It was only because they both spoke the same language.
Yep.
So, but they're a great partner with it. Great addition to the city. So.
On the proposed strategic discussion list, I've had on there since we put this together, a development idea for a tax credit, veteran housing development. And so it's been on there all year long and we haven't discussed it. And I'm curious if the council would even entertain a discussion to leverage the city's housing authority to apply for a round of credits to develop a veterans housing development. And I've looked at discussions that took place prior to me joining the council about the Veterans Memorial, and it sounds like there was conceptually an idea placed to put a small development veterans housing near there, and I think there may be some restrictions with power lines and whatnot, but either there or another location in the city that would make sense. But before we get into the details, would the council even entertain a discussion about using our housing authority to develop a veterans housing using, federal tax credits?
I
I'm
think it's,
interested in learning more about it.
I think it's a great idea.
Perfect. I'll add it to our pending list and we'll get it scheduled.
Yeah, and so housing authority would be the ones that let us know what they could and couldn't do. Okay. And I'm sure you two know what you can and can't do with those, but the rest of us don't understand the federal grant taxes. Yeah, tax credit stuff, so we'll take all the knowledge we can get. Okay, so that's a great future agenda. Okay, so I met with Angie, the new CEO of Holy Cross Hospital here in West Valley. And they are very excited and really want to be part of the community. So they want to help out with my hometown, all the different things we do. And so they're very interested. So that's, I think, will be a great relationship to build with them and just help them become a better part of our community. They want to come to all of the Spring Fest and Fall Fest and West Fest consistently, not once every 5 years. So looking forward to that partnership. I think it'll be a great partnership with them. And they buy to stay. They don't buy to resell their hospitals. So they've made a commitment to be here for a long time. So that's good. So I don't know if we have anybody on the Healthy West Valley or any of those committees that would be good to pull somebody from the hospital and get them on one of our committees.
Yeah, we had, like John Butterfield and Nathaniel from Stewart. And
Right.
So with the change with Andrew will be appointing someone to come. I don't think
Okay,
they'll be attending regularly, but we'll have a representative. We're
okay,
gonna be doing a community needs assessment as well. So just like you said, they definitely want to get their feelers out in community and learn more about what's going on.
yeah. Okay, well, that'll be great. All right. Any other council reports? Seeing none, the strategic plan list, did anybody else have anything on there they wanted brought to the forefront?
You notice, and brought it up when Whetstone was talking about it, but there's one under other hotels becoming long-term rentals that I don't think we've discussed at all. I don't, you brought it up, didn't you, Lars? I think I did. I'm just wondering if there's,
If we could get a report on if that's happening and,
happening here in the city or not. I know it's happening other places.
okay. So we can
Whether or
schedule
not
that for a
it's
communication
happening
report. Okay. Sounds good.
No.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other business, we do need a closed session for the,
Motion then that we have a closed session to discuss current or pending litigation and to discuss professional competency. And that following those sessions, we'll adjourn.
okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and or motion and a second. Ms. Kamic.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Whitstone.
Yes.
Councilman Harmon.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt
Yes.
and Mayor Link.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and then come back You can figure out who has to be here.